Greetings and welcome to a new series of uploads called RFEFP. I'm going to be your host Neeby, so please sit back and relax and let's get straight into this upload. Now, is there anything more valuable than truth? Its value is enhanced 1,000-fold since the very nature of truth is so rare. Now, is the Earth a globe, or is it not? Is it spinning through space on an axis at 1,000 miles an hour, or is it not? Is the Earth revolving in an orbit round the Sun at 67,000 miles an hour, or is it not? Is the Earth hurtling towards the constellation Hercules at more than 154 millions of miles a year, or is it not? Is the Earth a heavenly body, or is it not? Is it a planet, one of millions upon millions of uninhabited worlds, or is it the world? Now, the word astronomy is taken from the Greek words meaning the laws of the stars. Astron, a star, nomos, a law, nemo, to regulate a science that explains the regulation of the stars. And I'm sure you're all very familiar with the movie Finding Nemo, because they still haven't found it. Now, astronomy is as much distinct science from the science of physical geography, which belongs entirely to the Earth. For astronomy, we must look up. For geography, we must look down. Now, the Earth does not belong to the science of astronomy, folks, as the Earth is not a planet, nor a luminary, nor is the Earth a star or a heavenly body. It was created 3 days before the actual luminaries, therefore it is not in the order of the planets. Now, a planet is a wandering star. The Earth is not a wandering star. A star is a burning light. The Earth is not a burning light. The luminaries are in the firmament of the sky, and the Earth is not in the sky, nor is the Earth in the plane of the Sun. It is not a globe and has never ever revolved a mile. It must be fixed as the sundial. To which brings me to part 1 of this series. The sundial is the earliest type of clock known to mankind, and why we actually have wristwatches today. The sundial is a circle-shaped disc fixed to the ground. Then rising from the disc is a fixed wedge-shaped object. Now, this is called a style. So when the sun shines, the style will cast a shadow which points to various positions on the circular face of the sundial during the course of the day. Now, the face of the sundial, just like the face of the Earth, folks, specified the correct time by casting shadows or light on the base plate or face plate. Now, the plate has to be flat, but it can be shaped circular, as a circle is not a globe. So time can be calculated most accurately at noon using this method of time telling. So to anybody who understands how to interpret the movements of the sun above us, the sundial is still a very effective clock, at least on cloudless days. They will always depict the correct time. Even the oldest sundials on the plain Earth accurately depict the correct time today in 2018 down to the exact minute after centuries of construction. And how is this the case? The moon dial was also a very good idea, folks, but the real problem with the moon dial was that it was only really accurate on the night of the full moon. And of course, it has to be a very clear night to allow the sunlight to shine directly onto the moon dial itself. Now, it was the Egyptians that were the first to use the sundial, and I wonder who gave them that gift of accurate time telling. Now, they were the first for a lot of things in history, weren't they? But they used a stick or a pillar called a gnomon, so time was calculated depending on the length of the shadow on the stick, so 5 hours were written. In the morning, the stick was placed facing the east, and then in the afternoon, the stick was placed facing the west. Now, sundials were also commonly used in ancient Greece and Rome, and in Central Europe, it was the most familiar method utilised to determine the time, even after the mechanical clock was invented and developed back in the 14th century. Because, folks, the Egyptians knew it, the ancient Greeks knew it, and all the past civilizations knew it. That it is the sun that really moves overhead, folks, and certainly not the earth. Now, if flying had been invented at the time of Kepler or Copernicus, there is no doubt that they would have soon realised that their contention regarding the rotation of the earth was very, very wrong. Consequently, if the earth was indeed spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and gyrating at 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, and wobbling at 500,000 miles an hour round the Milky Way, and racing through the galaxy in a red or a blue car. Remember the advert, the Milky Way advert? It would be physically impossible, folks, for these structures, these timepieces, to still be able to tell the actual time as they did the day that they were made, in some cases many years ago, without making constant adjustments to them. In short, folks, a sundial shows the correct time today by displaying the position of the sun's shadow on a flat surface, not only to tell the right time because the earth is both stable and flat with the sun moving overhead, but to accomplish that remarkable phenomenon known as the precession of the equinoxes. And this, folks, is exactly why the sundial is a real flat earth fact on the plane. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Part 2 will be coming soon, so I will see you in that next upload. You take care, and I hope you find luck on this plain earth. Thanks for listening. Hello, welcome to RFEFP. I'm your host again, Nibi, and thank you for joining me. Please sit back and relax, kick back, and let's get mooning together. Heliocentricity does tell us that the moon goes around the earth, it orbits in around 28 days, and it's the sun that reflects heat to cold and a magical light onto the grey moon's surface, and this reflective light is somehow responsible for our nighttime. Now, you and I both know it can and does get below freezing in some of the hottest deserts on the plane during the night hours. So we already know that moonlight is a cold light source instead of a warm one, and this is a concrete proof and one you already know without realizing it. They've also indulged in our imagination, to some degree, that the moon is even considered to be a solid, opaque spherical world that some say is holding alien life forms, having mountains, valleys, vast lakes or seas once, volcanic craters, and other conditions analogues to the surface of the Earth. The whole visible disk has been mapped out and special names given to its various peculiarities, as though they have been carefully observed and actually measured by a party of terrestrial surveyors. And you can listen to what people like David Icke or Dr. Stephen Greer believe, what they think the moon's for as well. Now, all this has been done in direct opposition to the fact that whoever for the first time actually looks at the moon's surface through a powerful telescope is suddenly puzzled and perplexed to say what its composition is really like, or how to compare it with anything known to them. The comparison which may be made will always depend upon the state of mind of the observer. But in helioscience, folks, wants you to believe that the moon's rotation is perfectly synchronized with its orbit, and so that's why we only ever see one side of the moon, rather than conclude the flaming obvious that the moon is simply not rotating. She is a cold light, the lesser luminary, to rule the night. Simple. Which actually brings me to part 2 of the RFEFP series, our cold majestic Moonlight. Now folks, did you know that some plants, farming and certain fruits are made using only cooling moonlight? Sunlight's effect on growth on vegetation is well known, but moonlight also influences plant growth. It has already been proved that the light intensity as low as 0.1 lux, which is about the equal to the light of a very small candle, can influence photoperiodism in plants, which is essentially the response of plants through their growth in 24 hours. Now, scientific observations had realized that some plants have adaptive mechanisms built in to their actual DNA structure that prevent the cold moonlight from actually interfering with photoperiodism. Now, many plants on our plain Earth, folks, change the position of its leaves from horizontal in daylight to vertical at night time. And why do they do this? Because this reduces the intensity of the cold moonlight rays on the leaf surface. Also, night garden centres have further elaborated the activity of plants on a full moon night. The Albizieria, for example, has leaves that rotate and actually spin, and you can time-lapse them. And their paired leaves actually fold together with their upper surfaces shading each other from that cold penetrating light rays. There are also plants that prefer to grow in less light, and certain farmers can identify these such plants. Now, when seeds are planted on a full moon night, farmers state, with the moon's cooling light, the whole reflected cosmos comes onto the earth so that the force of growth may be enhanced. These plants planted on a full moon night will receive the cooling moonlight rays compared to the hot sunlight rays during the day. This cold, soft, silvery light, folks, is so unlike sunlight, or let's say gaslight, or any other light on this plain earth for that matter. Now, people gave credence to the old moonlight, folks, as far back as Christ's time. A Roman scholar named Pliny the Elder, who lived at the time, even advised people to harvest fruit or vegetables on a full moon night, because he had observed ants to be busiest in their anthills then, and at new moon they were observed to be listless. Pliny proved to people that fruit was not vulnerable to damage at new moon. Ants remaining in anthills will mean they will not come out in the cold and destroy the fruit. If fish were to be hung up to dry in the sunlight, they will be preserved. But if they are exposed to the cold moonlight, they will be rendered putrid in one night. And the same applies to certain fruits as well. Maria Thun, a moon watcher and a farmer in Germany, explains that when the moon reaches her highest point on the plain and then begins to go down, as she never sets, remember, Plants will focus on their root zone, a wonderful time for transplanting, so they say. The plant at this time forms rootlets, giving it anchorage. Subsequently, when the moon is low on the horizon as she circles, it signifies the sun's role in autumn and winter, the perfect equilibrium. Some plants during this period focus on their portions which are in the soil, and this is the best time to manure, to compost, and to harvest root crops. Moon farming, folks, really does entail a tremendous dedication with a keen sense of observation. As we know, self-observation is certainly one key to the flat earth science, to no surprise if you're a subscriber. Now, the sugar on top, folks, near Philadelphia in the US of A, there is a farm established way back in 1935, and many do not realise that this was the first organic farm in the US. Their studies on cold moonlight that have been compiled in a calendar known as the Kimberton Hills Calendar. The farmers at this farm program work on certain days and nights when the moon has entered her particular zone of the sky. So when leaves or fruit show signs of developing, this is certainly noted by the farmer, who will write out the details of the moon's position as she circles, and which plants responded best to when the moon was in which particular zone. Hence, cabbage is apparently planted on a leaf day and tomatoes on a fruit day. There is also a so-called farmer's Bible, so to speak, folks. This amazing tome is called the Old Farmer's Almanac, used by millions of gardeners in print, online, and mobile apps. And in the old days, they made predictions from a secret formula created by the publication's founder, Robert B. Thomas. And that formula was locked away in an old tin box in the company's headquarters in Dublin. And I bet you would love to know what that secret was. Well, you're listening to it, folks. This is concrete proof that the moon has her own cooling light, her own path and lunar cycles around the plane, and is a giver of her own magical phenomena. She is certainly not reflective in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. The true science, folks, of nature and all its magical glory. Only a true form of intelligent design could create plants, a type of life form that in its actual DNA makeup able to change its position of leaves during the day and change their position during the night time. They are two very different forms of light and total opposite rays of heat and cold, scientifically proven. The facts of nature are truly fascinating and the total opposite from the so-called facts of heliocentricity. They really are. Hence this, folks, is exactly why moonlight, cold, majestic moonlight, is a real flat earth fact on the plane. Thank you for watching. Tap that sub if you want to know more. And of course, I will see you next time in part 3. You take care, be well, and I wish you all the luck on the plane. Hello, and welcome to RFEFP, part 4, the Earthbows. Now, I'm Neeby, wishing you a pot of gold at the end of this one, folks. Now, as previously mentioned in part 3 of this series at hand, and please check it out in case that you missed it. Now, in short, there is a form of reflection and a type of refraction on the plane Earth, and this is curved, if you will, so is represented as a result of that. and this in the form of rainbows and the other type of bows on the plain Earth. Now they all seem to form the shape of an arced or arched semicircle, very different obviously to a so-called curving light from a lighthouse. Now, a rainbow is a phenomenon that is caused by reflection and a type of refraction of light in water droplets, resulting in a spectrum of light appearing in the sky. They also take the form of a multicoloured circular arc, and why does it seem to take this very shape, one may ask? Because it is simply reflecting off something above, folks. Now what this is called and what this must be made from must be a form of glass or clear metallic reflective or crystalline substance, so to actually reflect from and thus create that very arched shape in the sky. Now we all know that any man, woman or child can make a rainbow inside with a torch, a glass of water and a piece of paper. This is quite good fun if you know what you're looking for, because here's the test, folks. Why not try it actually covered with a big glass bowl filled with and without water? You will be amazed of the results. Just try it yourself, folks. So the question is, what actually creates the glass prism or the mirror on the plane outdoors to form this arced shape? And if you're one who is actually thinking, well, Nibi, wait a minute, rainbows and all the other Earthbows are supposed to be a full circle. Well, really? Well, you show me a rain, a fog or a snowbow in full circle when I'm stood on flat ground watching it with my own two eyes recording it. That simply won't happen, because no real bow on plain Earth has ever been recorded or snapped full circle without manipulation. So to make my point, here are a couple fish-eyed fake ones and computer manipulated ones, so you can make up your own mind, real or fake, photo or painting. It's just another disinformation act on the gullible general public, folks, to make you think that you are blind from your own natural senses, so you are not seeing exactly what you really are seeing. Earth doesn't move, the sun and moon do, and our Earthbows are reflected shapes of somewhat very mysterious factor from above, and certainly not a full type of circle. And I do love circle, folks, don't I? Now your eyes do not lie, folks, unless you make them. Rainbows caused by sunlight or moonlight always appear in the section of the sky directly opposite the sun or moon, proving that the bows are a form of reflection from something above, as the same thing happens when you or I create one indoors with that artificial light source with the same angle of direction. Heliotheory states in a primary rainbow, the arc shows red on the outer part and violet on the inner side. This rainbow is caused by light being refracted when entering a droplet of water, then reflected inside on the back of the droplet and refracted again when leaving it. Now, very complicated in a sense where in a double rainbow, a second arc is seen outside the primary arc and has the order of its colours actually reversed, with red on the inner side of the arc, and this is caused by the light being reflected twice on the inside of the droplet before leaving it. Now it's amazing, isn't it, how versatile those little rain droplets are. So according to the current theory, at the centre of the rainbow, the raindrops are reflecting light right back to us. Then from 180 degrees to about 140 degrees, we also get a deviation that causes white light. And this deviation causes just as much brightness as a straight reflection, since the rainbow is not brightest right at the centre. The whole centre is equally as bright. So at about 140 degrees, we start to get colour. From 138 degrees to 129, we get no refraction, no reflection or deviation, or at least none that can actually reach our eye. But from 129 degrees to 127, we get full breaker refraction inside the raindrop, causing a reverse rainbow, and then below 127 degrees, we again get some brightening, but not as much as from 140 degrees to 180 degrees. If a single raindrop can cause so many different refractions, including a one bounce reflection at any angle from 90 degrees to 180 degrees, a two bounce refraction over a wide range of angles, and a three bounce refraction over many angles, and a four bounce refraction over many angles, plus other bounces, what we have is called scattering, and not refraction or deviation, as it's known. Scattering, folks, causes white light, not coloured light. So this theory of 3 and 4 bounce refraction isn't even consistent, as there are many different coloured bows on the plain Earth, you know, folks, from the particular multicoloured one to just red ones, just white ones, and just grey ones. Even night bows, folks, all still very much a mystery to scientists. Now, it is magical, really, folks, because not only are the bows a representation of something we are yet to fully understand as human beings, but these are the bows on the plain Earth few even know about, that are so very rare, it's only in recent times that we have managed to get the images and recordings of the phenomena. And these magnificents are known as moonbows, fogbows, and snowbows. And an honourable mention goes to sundogs and ice halos too. They form different patterns, but spectacular still nonetheless. What is truly fascinating though, folks, is that they all still create this very same reflected arc shape from above. Now, rainbows, we know, are caused by light from the sun during the daytime, a sunbow, if you will. They are referred to also as solar rainbows. But guess what, folks? The moon also, as she has her own very special light too. We also covered it in part 2 of the series, and if you want a refresher, please check that one out too in case you missed it. So in case of the latter, at night time, the rainbow is referred to as a lunar rainbow or moonbow. They are much more dimmer and rarer than solar rainbows, requiring the moon to be near full in order for them to be seen. For the same reason, moonbows are often perceived as white and may be thought of as monochrome. Long exposure photographs will sometimes show the colour in this type of rainbow and its shape as an arc. Fogbows form in the same way as rainbows, but they are formed by much smaller cloud and fog droplets that diffract light intensively. They are almost white with faint reds on the outside and blues on the inside. Fogbows are commonly seen over water when air in contact with the cooler water is chilled, but they can be found anywhere if the fog is thin enough for the sun to shine through and the sun is fairly bright. They are very large, almost as big as rainbows, and much broader. They sometimes appear with a glory at the bow's centre, and again, folks, shaped in an arc. Fogbows should not be confused with ice halos though, so like fogbows, snowbows take place when the sunlight is apparently reflected, it's scattered through the clear snowflakes in the air. Now this, folks, is a very rare phenomenon. A snowbow only happens when the sun is low and when it is snowing at either sunrise or sunset, sunup or sundown, which is certainly very rare in the UK. The snowbow also forms a type of arched shape, just like the rain and just like the fogbows of the plain Earth. Little is still scientifically known, folks, regarding these beautiful, spectacular forms of the Earthbows that fill our sky with the truth right in front of our noses, as the real facts and real science of nature will still baffle the so-called leading helioscientists and practitioners of the Earth today regarding reflection and refraction. But the answers are there, folks, staring right back at you if you would only open your eyes to it. Hence this, folks, is exactly the reason why the Earthbows are a real flat Earth fact on the plane. Remember, folks, truth searches for no one. It just waits to be found. Every type of bow on this plain Earth, rain, fog and snow, all seem to show they depict this magically mysterious, reflective, curved, arced shaped from above. Now we will cover what this could be in the next coming parts to the series, so hit the sub if you're new, and I will see you in part 5. Thank you for watching this upload and for your attention. This was Neeby, also known as Circle. Take good care, see you soon, and keep flat.